Well, good afternoon. Actually, good morning, everybody. Orlando Sanchez with our weekly TLC Facebook Live. We're glad that you joined us. We're going to start off a little slow because this gives an opportunity for people to be joining us on Facebook and our various platforms. I think we're on YouTube and whatnot. But we're real honored today to have, actually, I'm very honored to be sitting between these two lovely young ladies. As you all know, to my right, your left on the screen, is my co-host, Andrea Gomez.
Hola a todos, buenos días, gracias por acompañarnos en nuestro TLC Live, en nuestra transmisión en vivo a través de Texas Latino Conservatives, que estamos transmitiendo en vivo a través de nuestra página de Facebook y también a través de YouTube.
And we are joined this morning by Carolina Jimenez. She is a licensed psychologist and, I will say, a graduate of the University of Houston and a fellow Cougar. So thank you for taking the time out to be with us.
No, thank you for the invitation. It's always an honor to share information with our community.
My pleasure. Our pleasure having you. So this morning we want to talk about something that I think is, I'm going to ask Dr. Jimenez's opinion on this, but I will tell you that Andrea and I have been talking a lot about the sheltering in place or quarantining in place or the confinement that we're all experiencing and what sort of an effect psychologically it has on us individually, as families, and potentially as a society. We're seeing some what I consider to be pretty disturbing trends in our community. And so we thought it would be helpful for you guys to get some comments from somebody that's been practicing for quite some time here in Houston. So having said that, I want to talk a little bit about sort of the stigma that I think exists, and these are my personal opinions, particularly among males, but also what I think is among Latino communities about seeking counseling when you're distressed, when you're depressed, when you have experienced some kind of traumatic event in your life. I think personally that it's always beneficial to talk to a professional. I know my mother used to use the term desahogar. Cuando hay un problema, you want to desahogar. You want to share.
Yeah, and you get out everything that you have inside.
Right. Lay it out, don't hold it in. So, Dr. Jimenez, first of all, the question I have is, in your opinion, do you think there's a reluctance among males in general, but in particular the Latino community, to seek help from counselors?
Absolutely. In my practice, I've been doing therapy for 20 years, first as a licensed professional counselor and then as a psychologist. So I work primarily with college students, and they're more likely to seek counseling after we encourage them to. So even within a more educated or younger population, there's so much stigma that people are so hesitant. Unless they're really, really encouraged or mandated, they won't come. The term you use, perfect, desahogar, get it off your chest. I love that term in Spanish because it really captures what it means, right? If you hold things in, you are drowning in your own emotions.
Yeah.
So it's always beneficial to talk it out. People often say, why am I going to pay someone if I can just go talk to the priest, go talk to my friend? It's not the same unless the priest or the clergy or any other member also has training in counseling. It's very different to talk to a friend who's probably going to tell you, yeah, you're right in everything, as opposed to a therapist, because we are going to encourage you, support you, but also challenge you.
I suppose that you see this a little bit on suicides. For example, victims of suicide have a lot of friends and they talk to a lot of friends. And a lot of times, just on social media, I see where people are always lamenting, I wish I would have known. I wish I could have done more. I didn't detect the messages. And so I think that what you're saying is a licensed professional can see underlying issues that the average person or a friend can't see.
Exactly. And we see it a lot, survivor's guilt or regret, always feeling like I could have prevented it, when in fact, as communities, we can support each other, but sometimes it does take a lot more support, professional support. So for instance, someone who might be seeing you daily might not notice what's going on because oftentimes people will hide what they're feeling. It's hard to open up. They don't want to burden others. They feel as if they share their sadness, they're going to make their friends sad. So it's not just listening to words, but also listening to actions, because I think actions speak 1,000 words.
During this pandemic, have you noticed any trends that you can share with us that would make anyone watching us say, "Oh, I'm feeling that too, so I'm not alone." I mean, what are the trends that your profession has seen since, let's say, January of 2020?
We're definitely seeing more depression, more stress, more anxiety, even within the therapist community. It's very challenging to see people and take care of them while also having to take care of ourselves, having to adjust to doing things via telehealth. So now they don't come to see me in the office. We do everything online. They can use their phone, they can use their laptop, their computer, their tablets. And it does take that component out of the therapy where when they're in my office, I can sense their energy. I can pay more attention to body language. When we're seeing them through a computer screen, it takes something very valuable out of it, but it also allows us to serve them despite what's going on. So we are seeing more stress, more anxiety. It's a time of uncertainty, and every time there's uncertainty, we're going to see an increase in anxiety.
How much of an effect is uncertainty on humanity? That's always something because I think to myself, you watch all these television commercials and everybody says during these uncertain times. I think if I hear that one more
During
time,
the challenging
during these
times.
challenging times, I'm going to throw up because life is uncertain. Life
Yes.
is challenging. Every day that we're alive, we face hurdles and challenges and trauma. And yes, it's mixed in with joy and happiness and family and but what makes this so different? Why is a pandemic more challenging than, let's say, the flu or, exposure to mumps or some other disease?
So you made an excellent point. Life is going to have stress. If we're alive, we're experiencing some sort of stress. So stress itself is not a bad thing. Stress can motivate us. I had an interview here with you all, Facebook Live. If I wasn't even a little bit stressed, I'll be in bed, right? If I have a little bit of stress, hey, I'm going to be late. I need to get going. So a little bit of stress can be motivating. Stress becomes a problem when it becomes so much, so overwhelming that it's debilitating and it paralyzes people. So that's one of the main difference. It's not just stress itself, but the amount of stress. The second thing is, yes, there's uncertainty in life, but before the pandemic, people had a routine. They knew they could go to work, even us introverts. Maybe we weren't partying every weekend, but we knew we had the option. So that's one of the major difference, feeling like you no longer have that option. The other thing is that things are changing day by day. So it's not just uncertainty, but constant uncertainty. So it just adds another layer of complexity. The thing is, when we're looking at stress and anxiety, even depression or other major health concerns, it's not one single determinant. It's factors that contribute to how the person is going to experience all of that, both protective and risk factors.
People are getting connected with us right now, and we want to tell you guys that we are live with Dr. Carolina Jimenez. She is a licensed psychologist, and today the topic is mental health, something that we've been listening and hearing constantly during this pandemic, especially during quarantine. And I will emphasize during quarantine because I think this is like the second wave of the quarantine that pretty much people are going back to the house. People are more conscious about what is going on with COVID-19. The cases are going up. So, like, authorities are telling us, okay, wear masks again, stay at home again. And many people haven't even leave the house, even when everything, we finished the lockdown. So, we've been seeing, and I was talking to you, Dr. Jimenez, on the phone, and you were telling me that you haven't been this busy. And probably, I don't know if in the entire career or the last 5 years or what is, how do you compare this? Because this is a situation for sure. It's something that we never experienced before. So nobody knew what was going to face. And we still know, we still have more questions than answers on this. So tell me about your experience, and I want to know also what is the cases that you've been getting more, like suicide, like couple therapy. What is the cases that you've been seeing more in your therapy?
So compared to the last 2 years, just within the last 2 years, this June was a lot busier, twice as busy as last year. So what happened is we started with January, February, business as usual. As soon as March came around and we're starting to get all this information, people stayed home. So I had April and May were pretty slow. June, everybody came back. So I think what happened is people realized this is long term. This isn't just a 2-month thing that we can wait out. So they're calling. Yes, they're stressed out. A lot more couples counseling because it's good to spend time with your loved ones. but at the same time that it's a source
Or
of
you hate ones.
well, it's a source of support and encouragement up to a certain point.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing that we look at, right? So, for example, when I did my research for my dissertation with Mexican American, Mexican, and Central American immigrants, it's good to have people around you up to a certain number. After a certain number, it becomes more stressful, more people to take care of, less privacy. So I am getting more calls for couples counseling because people are like, we love each other, but we're getting on each other's nerves.
And even though our culture, we always have people around, family around, friends around, but I mean, we want our privacy sometimes. And now that we are like in the whole house, like every day seeing each other, it's like very hard.
So again, it goes back to the option. Before, if I didn't want to stay all day with you, I could go out and go to the movies, go hang out with friends. So now that we feel I don't even have that choice, people are getting more stressed out. And even just taking into account personality differences. There's people who love being around other people. Extroverts are suffering because they cannot go hang out with their friends. Introverts are like, well, this is business as usual up to a certain point. Because even introverts could start to feel like, yeah, I do miss the crazy people in my life.
Well, even introverts want to go out to eat once in a while,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, we got right into your profession and sort of the COVID-19. Um, as I met you for the first time, so you're telling me you're the daughter of immigrants. Where were your parents from?
They're from Guanajuato, Mexico.
Okay.
Both of them, actually.
But you're a Texan.
I'm from Houston.
Tú eres Tejana.
Tejana.
Okay. And again, you went to the University of Houston, both undergrad, master's, and PhD.
Great.
And so your practice mainly focuses on what?
Latinos, adult Latinos. So I work with people 18 years and older. A couple of years ago, I started doing full-time in immigration evaluations. There was just such high demand for it that I went ahead and wanted to meet that need. So people are not educated about the options that they have, and there's so many avenues they have to legalize their status. So I do a lot of work with asylum seekers, victims of violent crimes, even people who have survived domestic violence. They could qualify to legalize
So
their
that's
status.
interesting because I never knew that Department of Homeland Security, I'm assuming, sends immigrants to psychologists for evaluation. What's the goal? What's the purpose?
Okay, so just to clarify,
From a public policy
yes,
perspective.
just to clarify, it is not immigration who sends them.
Okay.
It is their attorneys.
Oh, the attorneys.
So that's a big difference. So that's part of the evidence for their cases.
I got you.
It is not required, but it is very helpful. So the attorneys will refer their clients to me, even people who are applying for a hardship waiver. So what that means is in 1996, we have changes to laws where now people who were illegally in the country have to live for 2 to 10 years, that bar, right, or that ban. So what a hardship waiver does is it allows them to stay if there's extreme hardship to a qualifying lawful permanent resident, partner, or parent. So in those citizen or lawful permanent resident, to show how they would suffer if their relative left. So we have to show not just I'm going to miss them, it's going to be hard, it's going to be extreme hardship if this person leaves the country.
Gotcha.
So for those who just start connecting with us and watching this live, we are with Dr. Carolina Jimenez. She is a licensed psychologist, and we're talking today about mental health. Mental health is something that we're being, avoiding for many years. And
not me.
Well, no, for sure, no. And you guys will understand if you know him better. But well, we already arranged therapy with the doctor for you. So yeah, for many years we avoid that, especially the Latinos. It's like, you tell me we're gonna send you to therapy. Well, I'm not crazy. Why are you gonna send me to therapy? So we always think that going to therapy is like because we're crazy, and that's not the case. And in this country, we tend more or to see people going to therapy or always have a therapy. It's like in a speed dial, especially the Anglo community. In the Latino community, we're learning little by little, step by step. But I'm seeing friends, before I didn't know nobody, but seeing friends in these days that they're being taking therapy, especially the couples. That's very important. And also, I was talking to somebody that works in a hospital, and they were telling me that along with the COVID-19 cases, they've been getting a lot of patients of suicide. So that depression, it's it's an illness. It's something that we think is not being sad. Depression, it's really a condition. So tell us about that.
Excellent difference. Again, everything works in a continuum. Stress itself is not bad, it's when it overwhelms us. We're all going to feel sad every now and then because we're human. So sadness itself, it's not bad. It's how we cope with it, how we avoid it, how we nos ahogamos en ella, how we don't really do anything to try to express it and let it out. So in terms of depression, we hear the word used and thrown around like, I love you when I'm depressed. You're not depressed. You might be feeling sad, you might be feeling discouraged, but unless the symptoms of depression last more than 2 weeks and there have to be several symptoms and they impair your functioning, then you're not clinically depressed.
How we can tell our community or people, the one that watching us, what is the symptoms? How to detect that somebody is suffering from depression, and we can how we can help.
That's a great question. At what point do you pull the trigger and say, I need some help?
Right. So watch for any major changes. For example, someone who used to be very extroverted all of a sudden is distancing themselves from other people. They used to be very energetic. All of a sudden, they lack energy, they lack motivation, changes in appetite, either overeating or eating less, any weight loss, any changes in mood. So it's a constellation of different symptoms that together, for example, people will not want to go to work anymore. They don't care about relationships. It impacts their academic performance. It impacts so many other areas of their lives. That's when it becomes a problem. So any major changes for people, but especially anything in their bodies, like lack of energy, lack of motivation, and appetite.
But here is a big challenge. We are at home.
Mhm.
How do we can really find out if somebody is suffering from depression or it's just like I don't have anything to do?
Right.
You know, I don't wanna take a shower during the day because I don't have no place to go.
I don't have to
So
go to
how
work.
do we can really see the difference between somebody is just like,
Bummed out.
yeah,
Yeah.
at home because of this situation, or it's really depressed.
Mhm. So again, we have to establish a baseline. And in situations like this, it's all right. So we have our functioning before the pandemic, and now we're learning what our functioning is during the pandemic. We've been locked up for a couple of months now. So now we're starting to see like, wait, this is not just adjustment. So that's another thing. There's something called adjustment disorder with depressive and anxiety symptoms. That's short term. If it lasts more than 2 to 6 months, then it becomes more of depression. So the example of the pandemic, I don't have anywhere to go. I don't really want to shower. That's fine. I have somewhere to go. I don't even have the energy to shower. I don't really care to shower. That's the difference, whether or not you have the energy.
Is it um, is it untreated? Does it last a long time, or do people pull out of depression on their own? Something triggers them, and then all of a sudden, I'm back to normal.
There can be episodes. So we call them depressive episodes because it can come and go. The thing is, if the episodes keep coming back, then it's time to go see a professional. Because every time you have a new episode, it could actually be more severe than the prior one. So a lot of times people feel like I can do this by myself or I'm feeling better. They will call and schedule an appointment. They're like, well, I'm going to cancel it because I'm good now. Listen to your mind, your body, your heart. All of you is trying to tell you something. So for some cases, depending on the severity, the best treatment would be both medication and therapy.
I think there's some confusion in the community. Hay confusión en la comunidad entre la diferencia entre un psicólogo y un psiquiatra.
Sí.
So the question in English is, I think there's a lot of confusion in the community between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. I know, for example, psychologists, I may be wrong, can prescribe certain medications. A psychiatrist has carte blanche. He or she is a physician, has sat for the medical boards, where psychologists are PhDs, and the state does license you guys just like a doctor and gives you some prescriptive privileges. But explain to us in both languages if you can, because we have some folks that are watching us that are bilingual. You know, tenemos muchas abuelitas que no entienden inglés, así que let's help them out. ¿Qué es la diferencia entre el psicólogo y el psiquiatra? What's the difference between the psychologist and the psychiatrist?
We're both doctors, but you're correct. Psychiatrists go to medical school. Psychologists, we either have a PhD, which is called a Doctor of Philosophy in a field of psychology, or a PsyD, doctor in psychology. So we're both doctoral level professionals. We both have to go through this extensive licensing process. We have to sit for national examinations. We have to take ethics exams for the state that we're going to practice in. And instead of Texas, I had to take an oral exam. I had to go to Austin and be interviewed by a panel. So it was pretty extensive. Now, in Texas, we do not have prescription privileges. In Texas, psychologists are not allowed to prescribe
Oh,
anything.
Only in
wow.
Texas,
It varies state by state.
state by
So
state.
they need to check within their specific state. Doctors, on the other hand, they are able to prescribe. La mayor diferencia entre un psicólogo y un psiquiatra es que los psicólogos somos doctores que nos enfocamos en la psicología, en el estudio del comportamiento humano. Los psiquiatras son doctores médicos y ellos sí pueden recetar medicamento. En el estado de Texas, los psicólogos no pueden recetar ningún medicamento y eso es muy importante, que sepan las leyes de cada estado. Y también hay mucha confusión porque habemos trabajadores sociales, terapeutas profesionales, psicólogos, que todos son profesionales de la salud mental, pero no todos son doctores. Trabajo con muchas personas que han ido con otros profesionales y después se sienten muy traicionados cuando se dan cuenta que no son psicólogos, que no son doctores. Se me mandaron con esta persona, yo creí que era el doctor y resulta que no es.
O sea, la terapeuta es diferente a un psicólogo.
Sí,
O sea, el que es terapeuta no necesariamente tiene un
doctorado.
diploma de psicología.
Tiene un diploma de psicología, pero a nivel maestría. Esa es la gran diferencia.
Oh.
Habemos profesionales de salud mental que son nivel maestría, un consejero profesional, y los psicólogos somos los que tenemos doctorado. Y también eso no sabe la comunidad cuál es la diferencia.
Eso es una diferencia grandísima. So let me ask you something. So if somebody, a patient, and he has a very, very bad depression, that to the point that he needs medication. So how do you guys deal with that?
We work closely with colleagues who are psychiatrists. We'll refer them. We'll ask them to at least consider it. If people are resistant to therapy, they're even more resistant to medication. So what I tell my clients is, you don't have to take anything. It's just in case you need it, it's available. It's another resource. So I tell them, go consult a psychiatrist. Doesn't mean they're going to prescribe anything. If they do prescribe you, doesn't mean you have to fill the prescription. If you feel it, doesn't mean you have to take it. But the main thing is to have the tools readily available.
Is there a difference between just depression? Let's say I've been locked up in the house the last month. I'm going absolutely crazy. Or let's say people that are manic depressive. In other words, that's a medical condition, is it not? Is it as I understand, and I may be wrong, there's sort of more of a chemical imbalance in the brain than it is an emotional sort of environmentally triggered reaction?
There's different theories about what causes depression, and the consensus is that it's actually different factors. So one of it could be the chemical imbalance in the brain. That's a biological factor. But again, someone can have the predisposition, doesn't mean they're going to manifest the depressive symptoms. So this is where the environment comes in. Someone who might have been okay before the pandemic, no depressive symptoms, all of a sudden feeling isolated, could trigger that chemical imbalance and could cause the symptoms to come to the surface. So just because someone has the potential doesn't mean they will exhibit it. But it's a combination of environment, personality, support system, brain chemistry, hormones. It's so many different things that come into play. That's why it's important to go to a professional.
Manic depression can manifest itself anytime, whether you're young, middle-aged, seniors?
We're actually seeing it come on at a younger age,
Really?
unfortunately. But in the past, it used to be adults. So the main difference is that depression, it's sad, it drains you, it takes your motivation away. Manic depression, or what we call bipolar disorder, it's actually different episodes. You have a manic episode, which is high energy, people engage in risky activities, they might do substance use, they might start driving like 100 miles on the freeway. They take a lot of chances. So the main difference is that manic, you're actually very activated, very elevated. You feel like you're on top of the world. Where a depressive episode is the opposite. You come down from that manic episode, you have no energy, and you just feel really, really sad.
Is that similar to addiction? I understand that addiction, for example, I've heard this before, cocaine. People take that first sample of cocaine and they feel this exhilaration for a couple of hours maybe, and then they come down, and then, well, they want to achieve that high, but as weeks go by, to achieve that high, you need more and more and more of the substance, and even when you get to the maximum amount that you can take without causing a cardiac arrest, you're just out of control. Is that like?
It's
addiction for
different.
chemicals?
It's different because when you have a substance dependency, it's not just physical dependency, it's also emotional or psychological dependency. So the threshold for that high does become more elevated and people do need more and more of a substance. With a manic episode, people are not necessarily addicted to anything. They do enjoy the manic feeling because they feel very productive. They're like, well, I stay up all night, I
Right.
write a lot. So they can enjoy the effects of it, but long term, the impact on the body, it's not the best. So some people may refuse to take their medication because they do like
Yeah.
the effects of that
Side
manic
effects,
energy.
yeah.
Right.
So what we can recommend to our community, to people that is watching us right now, how to deal with that, how to work, because yes, therapy helps, but at the end, we need to work with ourselves. And we need to also work with our family, or our family needs to work with us. In the case that if somebody in your family has that kind of condition. So what we can recommend, especially now that people are locked down and there's not many things to do, many people are out of jobs, and everybody says like, don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to not stress when I don't have a job.
Exactly.
It's difficult to deal with that. What we can tell our people?
So first of all, doing things like what we're doing right now, having a dialogue, having a conversation, sharing information, educating ourselves. The main thing is nunca le digan a las personas, no te sientas así. So never tell people, don't feel that way. If it were that easy, I could tell myself, don't feel that way.
Yeah.
So learning how to respond when someone says, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling depressed. No, you're not. Or stop thinking that way, or just change your diet.
So don't dismiss their emotions.
Don't invalidate emotions. Yeah, it's so easy to go into problem-solving mode. What I found in my 20 years of being a therapist is when people are motivated, they know where to look up the information. There's YouTube videos, there's online searches. They can acquire that information on their own. Oftentimes, people are looking for that emotional support. So, number one, just listen. That's the main thing you can do to support your family members and fight the stigma instead of, oh, no, don't go to a psychiatrist or the psychologist. Those are for crazy people. Counseling is for people. It's not for crazy people. It's not for weak people. It's for people. If you're alive, you're going to feel stressed out. If you're living, you're going to have certain circumstances in your life where you need extra support. And that's what it is. So I have a master's in clinical psychology and a PhD in counseling. Counseling focuses more on prevention. So that's the main thing. Prevention.
Oh, wow.
Don't wait till your stress or your anxiety becomes so debilitating that you lose your job. At the first sign of it, go talk to someone. Maybe you don't need medication if you come see a therapist when you start to feel sad. There was a movie that I watched a long time ago, or a TV program, and someone's like, what's wrong? Oh, I'm sad. Why are you sad? Because I'm eating. Why are you eating? Because I'm sad. So it's like this loop, right?
Vicious cycle.
Right. Or why are you drinking? I drink because I'm depressed, and I'm depressed because I drink. So there is a cycle, and we need to learn to stop that cycle. So number one, stop stigmatizing mental health. It's okay to seek support from friends and family. It's also okay to seek support from professionals.
So I need some advice.
Okay.
You need therapy.
I may need some therapy. My wife will be talking to me and I'm listening. I am a good listener. And after a while, she stops and says, are you listening? So how do we respond? Of course I'm listening. I always say I listen with my ears and not my eyes. I don't know if that's an appropriate.
Well, I'm going to, before you answer, doctor, I think this is something not just you, Orlando, and your wife.
That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, I think so. It happens to many couples.
What is the poor?
If guys, men are watching this, they probably said like, it happens to me all the time. My wife want to talk, and I'm listening, but while you guys listening, you are not focused. You guys are like checking the computer.
We multitask.
No, you guys are not, and we know that. That's the thing. So when we want a woman, she's laughing because she hears that all the time. When we need a man to listen to us, to listen, focus, look at me, give me 20 minutes of your day.
No, even if we focus and look at you, you're yelling at us for not responding. Or if we even shake our head about you're agreeing with my friend. I mean, it's like whatever we do, we get in trouble.
You never win with a woman.
Exactly.
Yes.
How do we? Can you help the men? Can you help los pobres Latinos Le caen arriba las
Let,
mujeres.
let me explain first of all why I'm laughing. My husband is a psychologist.
Oh my
I'm a
God.
psychologist, and we both have the same conversation, the same scenario. I'm like, are you listening? He's like, yeah. So women communicate very differently. Women can speak so many more words
Especially
than
Latinas.
Latinas per word per day than men. So there's a
I'll say,
difference. There's a difference between hearing and listening. We can hear everything, but is it really sinking in? So when the wives get angry, it's because, hey, I know you're hearing, but you're not listening. Be attentive, focus, pay attention, show me your body language, your eye contact. Basically, what they're asking is, I want to know that I'm important. I want to know that you can put that phone down and be present with me. I'm the multitasker in my home. My husband will be talking, I'm doing the dishes, and he stops. I'm like, I'm listening. I multitask. But what he's asking is for me, all of me, for me to look at him, to be with him, to listen to him. Men go into problem solving. Women are like, I don't need you to problem solve. I just need you to listen for 5 minutes.
I have to admit, I am my favorite television character is Dr. Spock on Star Trek.
Mhm.
And Dr. Spock is black and white. He has a logical answer for every crisis that the Starship Enterprise and the captain face. And I remember I give the example one time there was this big crisis on the Starship Enterprise, and the Captain Kirk looks at Dr. Spock and says, you know, what do we do? What do we do? And Spock very calmly says, Captain, the needs of the many clearly outweigh the needs of the few. And that was the answer. It's very logical. That's how men are. We listen to the problem, and there's a choice. There's A, B, sometimes C, but we say, this is the solution. It's like, you know, my car's not charging the battery. Okay, the alternator's bad. Just replace the darn thing.
Here, I'm not a psychologist, but probably the doctor will agree with me. Here is the way that we feel a man. It's been listening to us, not just hear us. So you can probably hear your wife or hear all of us in the pack that we have our meetings, a woman especially, Shannon and I, the word woman in the pack. So you probably hear us, but you don't listen exactly, because sometimes the next day we ask you about what we talked the day before, and you're just like, what? So it's like you don't remember. So you hear it, but you didn't listen. So here is the perfect example.
That's the onset of age.
No,
That's like I'm
no,
63. That
I
could be the
hear
onset of
Shannon and just cheering
Alzheimer's.
on us. But look, here is the thing. And I was married for 12 years, and I always feel I was never listened in my house. So the way that we feel that the men listen to us is, for example, if I say, oh, I'm so tired working and also washing dishes and cleaning and cooking and everything, the next day I come home after work and I find the kitchen that it was clean and it was a meal. You don't have to cook, but maybe you bought it. That's the way that a man showed to a woman, I was listening to you. I hear you that you're saying you were tired of cleaning and cooking and also working all day long. So even if you don't do it, but I hired a lady to come and clean the house. So I listen to you. Don't tell me I'm listening. Just show me with actions, because that's how women work. We hear whatever problem or issue our husband or partners or family has. What we do, we take action. We solve the problem with
So do
actions.
we.
No, you guys don't.
Oh,
So what I see with couples is the same scenario. The woman will come in feeling unloved, feeling unsupported, feeling like she's doing everything on her own, working, taking care of the house, everything else. And the man is like, I don't know why she's angry. I work hard, I
that's the
provide.
thing. We feel underappreciated.
So here's the trick. Even though we're all intelligent human beings, we're also emotional human
Yeah.
beings. So when we
Not
go
me.
when we go straight into problem solving, we try to bypass that emotion. When a couple comes in, 90% of the time, it's because someone doesn't feel emotionally connected to their partner. The example you were giving, Andrea, I can hire my own person to clean. I don't need my husband to do
Yeah.
that. But when they take the initiative, I feel heard. I
Yeah.
feel seen. I feel important. I feel like I don't have to do everything on my own. So working on the connection means we don't have to problem solve. We just have to feel like we're in it together. I mean, we're all intelligent, right? We all can pay our own bills. But if we choose to be in a partnership, it's because we want to share our lives, the good and the bad things with that person.
I want to talk a little bit, shift gears, because we are a political organization. And our name says it all, Texas
Mhm.
Latino Conservatives.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm always fascinated. We we say among ourselves and among our friends that Latinos tend to be conservative from el hogar de la familia.
Mhm.
Our piety, our religious beliefs,
Mhm.
the fact that we, abuela y la tía, and everybody lives close by and in the same neighborhood.
Mhm.
We're just very close knit. And I have to say, I was somewhat shocked in the presidential election 4 years ago when the candidate Donald Trump comes down the escalators at Trump Tower
Mhm.
and takes to the podium and says the famous line, Mexico sends us its worst, drug dealers, rapists,
Mhm.
murderers, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people say, well, they want to dismiss it as, well, he didn't mean, well, if you go back and listen to it, people are offended by that, right? I mean, talk to us a little bit about, because a lot of conservatives don't understand, even though she's Colombian, I'm Cuban, you're Mexican, and we're either immigrants or children of immigrants. There's a sense of pride in our culture
Mhm.
as Hispanics. There's a sense of pride in our nationality. For example, I like to eat plátanos,
Mhm.
black beans and rice, y picadillo, but that's very Cuban. You know, arepas for the Venezuelans or the Colombians,
Tacos,
cabrito para los
Tamales,
Mexicanos,
tamales,
right?
tacos.
tamales,
So
pozole.
we don't want to hear somebody say that. How from a psychological perspective, an organization like ours, I'm asking for help here. How do we reach the Latinos to let them know that that's really not that was a message that shouldn't have been delivered or it was injurious? I mean, is it legitimate that Latinos, particularly Mexican Americans, were offended by that language?
I was offended. I'm not a rapist. I'm a doctor. So when someone makes a comment and they don't think about the impact on other people, that's how we can fix this problem when people are aware of their own actions and the impact they have on others. So it's not necessarily like we need to fix people so they're not offended. We can only control our own actions. We need to be aware of what we say it, how it impacts people. So going back to mental health, when we hear comments like this, where other people, especially people in public positions, in high positions, they think so little of our community, it does have an impact. It feels like, well, what's the point? Why should I be a doctor if people are just going to assume I'm a criminal? So the one thing we can focus on is ourselves. Not all people share all the same beliefs. I can be pro-life and still have different beliefs, right? So I think that's the main thing. Not categorizing people, not thinking it's all black and white or all one way or the other, all or nothing. People are so complex. This is why I love what I do. We can talk about, well, this person was offended, and they might come to therapy with me because they want to explore the impact that that injury had on them. So we're talking about how do we reach people. I think the main thing is, why do we want to reach them? People can usually sense, why is this person reaching out to me? Do they care about me or are they trying to get something from me?
Boy, I tell you, I have said that until I'm blue in the face. As an immigrant and a conservative, a lot of people in the conservative movement ask me my opinions, and I always tell them, and Andrea knows this because we've known each other for a long time, just show empathy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is there a problem in the inner city with education, particularly among Latinos? Hello, the answer is yes. When you have 60%, 65% of urban Latinos dropping out of public school, that's a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a conservative, why don't you apply conservative principles to address those issues? Those kids are our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they got here legally or illegally, it's irrelevant because they're going to be with us. Now, we can be angry that they came here illegally, or we can roll up our sleeves and educate them to where they can participate and appreciate the free market, liberty, capitalism, our constitution, our way of life. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what really sometimes concerns me about the inability that a lot of our leadership doesn't understand how to reach Latinos.
So The first thing is, in terms of those children who came as, they didn't decide that. They came as their parents' children.
Right.
So immigration in their case was an adult decision that's impacting them. So that's the first thing, right? A child doesn't decide, I want to go somewhere undocumented. So I agree with you. We need to educate people in different senses, about mental health, about higher education. If it had not been for the University of Houston's outreach to my high school, I would not be sitting here with you. I would not be doctor. I would not be getting calls and emails to come share my opinions. So it took someone actively going to my high school, into my neighborhood, and showing me that they care and that there was a different option for me. I'm sure you guys know Dr. Laura Murillo from
Oh
the
yeah.
Hispanic Chamber of
Sure.
Commerce.
Oh,
So supportive.
I was a student with her under Tacho Mendiola in the Mexican American Studies
They
program.
recruited me. They
Yeah.
recruited me from high school. Dr. Murillo is still very encouraging. She invites me in her programs.
Great.
So I think when we know that people care about our community, it makes so much
I
difference.
say that all the time. And for the conservatives watching the program, I mean, not only have you heard it from me, but now you hear it from the daughter of Mexican immigrants who's a U.S. citizen. I mean, if conservatives truly want to make inroads into our community, the Latino community, and I'm not just talking about Mexican Americans, I'm talking about Cubans and Colombians and Venezuelans, Nicaraguans, El Salvador, because these people coming into this country are from every corner of the world, then you've got to figure out what are the issues and how you can roll up your sleeves as conservatives and address the issues that are important in our community. We don't want you to cater to us. We don't want you to do what I'm going to be political here, and I'm not speaking for these ladies, but we're not asking for welfare checks, and we're not asking for, yes, healthcare is important to us. Yes, it's important that our families have a job so we can provide for ourselves. Yes, it's important that we solve the immigration issue, but show some concern for a huge population in Texas, for example, that any demographer will tell you that the majority of the population of Texas is going to be Latino. I don't know if it's tomorrow or next year, but it's going to happen pretty darn quick, right? It's like COVID-19. We know it started in Wuhan, but we knew that it's going to be here. And so, with respect to the Latino community, my Republican conservative friends are wringing their hands as, oh my God, the state is purple and it could go blue. And it's like, well, I'm old enough to remember that at one time in the state of Texas, Latinos voted half and half. Half were conservative and half were liberal. Half were Republican, half were Democrats. And today, we're down to the low 20s for Latinos voting conservative. Something has happened. And you know, I'm just expressing to you that language, and I think it's been corroborated by Dr. Jimenez, language is important. Your actions are important, not only in the family, husband and wife, but also in politics. What is it that you're going to do to apply conservative principles to fix the problems in, for example, urban areas? It can happen, and it should happen. And I didn't mean to drag you into politics, but I did want your opinion as a proud Mexican American, and so I'm
We
glad
have a question.
I'm glad I got that off my chest.
Desahogarse, desahogarse.
By the way, I want to say that is a beautiful word in Spanish, desahogar. The word ahogar means to drown, and desahogar means, literally translated as Andrea says, make your question. Desahogar means to undrown. And so in Spanish, we say, it's like when you need to talk to somebody and when you seek the help of a licensed psychologist, te desahogas. You undrown. So I want to
Okay, we have a question, doctor, and is there anything that you recommend for us to do to help young children cope with these times with the new stay at home order? It looks like a school won't start as usual. Children are missing their routine. And I have twins in my house, 15 years old, and they're missing their school, they're missing their friends, they're missing their routine. I have my daughter here today helping us, and they're like they wake up at 11, at 12, at 1. They don't know what to do. It's like, well, it's nothing to do. What can I do, mom? Like, how do we help our
Who
kids?
sent that question in?
Stephanie.
That's a great question. And I meant to ask that. I mean, this has to be hard on young kids. For example, I can't imagine if I were 15 years old and I have my license, and all of a sudden
They're dying to drive.
doesn't allow me to go, go see my friends or go play volleyball or go to school. And I mean, it's got to be really depressing for kids.
So it depends on the maturity level and the age of each child. So maybe a teenager can understand things a little bit more intellectually. It doesn't mean they're not going to have an emotional reaction. So great, here comes this thing. Now I can't even have my commencement ceremony for high school. Allow them to desahogarse, express their feelings, share what they're thinking and feeling. I read somewhere that one family allowed their children to use one profanity word to express their anger. And the children are like, just one? They're like, yes. So allow them to express themselves, validate. It is a sucky situation for everyone. Very professional term, sucky situation.
Yeah.
But it is an unfortunate situation for everybody. And we're all going to be impacted. We might have days where we feel okay. The next day might be very difficult. So be patient with themselves, with each other. Older children, they might be able to understand more in-depth conversations. The younger kids, you know your child better than anyone else. We don't want to overload them with information where they're paralyzed either. So I know people who tell their 5-year-olds, we got to wear a mask just to take extra protection, but we also don't want the kids to feel like, if I take this mask off, I'm going to die. So we're delivering the information in a way where it's digestible for that child. Have your clear message. What is it that I want my child to know? And be open to follow-up conversation. Let them know if you have any questions, any concerns, any doubts, if maybe something I'm saying doesn't really make sense, or be open. Like if it makes you scared, please come to me and tell me what's making you scared.
All right. Well, look, it's
almost
time.
lunchtime.
And Dr. Jimenez, she's got patients that she has to go see
She's like,
clients, and so we're taking time away from her.
Doctor, where they can find you if somebody want to, need your help?
Yeah, Andrea, write down the phone number.
Well, we're going to put it in the comments.
JimenezCounseling.com, and they can call me at 281-709-2933.
Let's repeat the number.
281-709-2933.
Producer, are you writing the number in the comments?
So we thank you for your time. Okay. We really appreciate it. Andrea and I had this conversation about the content of this program today, and we thought that it would be really important to share with you that you're not alone. I mean, we hear that all the time. These are euphemisms, during these tough times, during these difficult times, you're not in it alone. But you're not. We're all in it together. We're all experiencing this. I mean, even I'm fortunate because, doctor, I have a Harley Davidson, and so when I get like really, cabin fever,
se desahoga con su depresión,
yo me
con la Harley.
Me monto en la motocicleta y me voy. So like I jump on my bike and I can ride from here to, let's say, Washington State, and I have a lot of fun, and I'm out in the Rockies, but not everybody has that ability. They have responsibilities. They have a family. They have parents that are seniors that are not in good health. So there's a lot of stress, and I get that. I'm fortunate in that I don't have that, environmental responsibility in my family. But so we wanted to share with you guys that you're not alone, that there are a lot of our neighbors that are experiencing the anxiety, the depression, like, oh my God, here comes round two. And not only round two, but now we have flu season coming up. So now we have what the doctors are calling the double whammy, right? Now we have COVID and flu, for God's sake. And so, it's okay. And so we wanted to bring in Dr. Jimenez to talk to you a little bit to let you know you're not alone, and there is help if you need it. So reach out to her or any licensed professional. It's good to talk to your friends, but like Dr. Jimenez said at the beginning, most friends are like always, oh, I didn't see that coming, because they're not professionals. So yeah, talk to your friends, but if you really think you're in a downward spiral, call a professional.
Yeah. And please visit us in TexasLatinoConservatives.com. We have plenty of information in English and Spanish about everything that we're discussing in our Facebook Live. And on top of that, we have a COVID-19 page is dedicated in English and Spanish for you to find resources to find out how you can get help.
Y otra cosa que quiero presentar es que vamos a hacer otro teletown hall, otra reunión por
Hopefully
teléfono.
you can join us on that telethon hall.
Tenemos miles y miles y miles de tejanos que nos acompañan en los teletown halls. Es una conversación por teléfono y vamos a tener un epidemiólogo. ¿Está bien dicho?
Epidemiólogo.
Unbelievable, I got it right.
Epidemiólogo.
Epidemiologist is tough to say in English, let alone
Epidemiólogo.
Spanish. I pulled it off. So we're going to have our world famous Dr. Ostrowski. I'm being told what date, but I can't read. On July 9th, we're going to have a teletown hall
Which is a Tuesday?
Thursday.
It's a
with
Thursday.
Texans all across the state, and we're going to put that information on our webpage. It'll be bilingual, so if you have questions you want to ask in Spanish, Dr. Ostrowski, Dr. Jimenez, Andrea, and I all speak Spanish adequately. I can't say perfectly because mine isn't.
And my English is not perfect.
So, but we're here to help. We're here to answer your questions. So we will be joined by a premier epidemiologist, also a Mexican. We will be joined, hopefully, we're not going to commit, by Dr. Jimenez, and we're going to take your questions and we're going to try to answer as many as we possibly can. So watch for that on our Facebook page and on our website. Our website's real simple. It's TexasLatinoConservatives.com. It's on the banner underneath as you see it. So until next week, Godspeed, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Nos vemos el próximo miércoles. Doctora, muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros, por dedicarnos su tiempo. Sabemos que está súper ocupada por estos días, pero de verdad que es bien importante poderle enviar este mensaje a la comunidad. Y pues gracias por todo lo que ha estado haciendo por la comunidad latina. Así, well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. And we'll see you next Wednesday on our weekly TLC Live, and also Thursday on our Telethon Hall with the epidemiologist. And Dr. Jimenez, if her schedule allows. But hopefully you can help us. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye. See you.